All right, welcome to the Why Would You Think That podcast. The NBA playoffs are here. We've played each series has gone 3 games through. All right, let's start off with the East because I'm far more interested in the West, and I'll be able to do more of a deep dive on that in a second. So, Bucks lead the Magic 1 versus 8 seed 2-1. Game 1, Magic come out. Nikola Vucevic just goes crazy for 35 points, 5 from 8 from deep. Terrence Ross has a great showing. Magic showing a little magic. Take game 1 in Orlando. Um, it was incredibly impressive. I watched the rerun of it later. Um, they take game 1. Games 2 and 3, you've seen the real Bucks show up, show out. Giannis has come out strong after a little bit of a sleepy start game 1. Chris Middleton has come alive in games 2 and 3. You can really just see how far outmatched the Magic really are after a great early sprint in the series, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Giannis is attacking more. He's even hitting a couple jump shots, which is a little promising to see for what obviously will be tougher series than the Magic currently. I think obviously I was wrong about this one going back a little bit. I thought Magic would sweep. I definitely think they'll take it in 5. I don't think Magic can reincarnate that game 1 performance. I think it'll be a gentleman's sweep at this point. So we got Bucks leading 2-1. I think that they take the next 2, and they'll be facing off with a team I'll be talking about in a little bit. All right, let's go 2-7. Raptors lead 3-0 over the Nets. I talked about how I thought for sure the Raptors would sweep the Nets. I think that's certainly in play. Obviously you don't want to fall asleep on a game 4 when you know you're going to win the series. Game 1, Raptors really blitzed the Nets. I was very impressed with Freddie VanVleet and Spicy P. Really just came out with defense and just kind of hit the Nets in the face with a frying pan. Basically, they lost by almost 30. Game 2, Nets fall behind early, get within striking distance late in the fourth quarter. They cut it within 3 with about 10 seconds to go. They inbound the ball after getting a stop. The inbounder comes back to take the ball, bounces off of his knee. It leads to a Norman Powell dunk, and that seals the game. Game 2 is kind of what I was imagining for the most part of the series, kind of close, tough games between the Nets and the Raptors. I didn't think the Nets were going to quit as easily as most people thought. I knew the Nets wouldn't win a game, but I thought they'd really fight hard with that grit and grime that they showed in the seeding games. So they lose game 2. Game 3, you can kind of see that the Nets are really kind of demoralized at this point. They lose by a little less than 20. Spicy P goes for 26. VanVleet goes for 22. Ibaka goes for 20. You got a trio of 20-point performances. VanVleet goes 6 of 10 from deep. It's just so hard to overcome that kind of thing, and the defending champs are just far too much for a well undermanned Nets team that, let's face it, next year is going to be scary with the return of some great superstar players. Okay, let's move to the 3-6 series. Celtics lead Sixers 3-0. Game 1, it was a little mind-boggling to me. I was kind of awestruck at the level of ineptness with Brett Brown, the head coach of the 76ers. Late game situation in game 1. You're down 4, 2 minutes to go. Yeah, down 4, 2 minutes to go. And Joel Embiid doesn't get a touch. A play isn't run. The offense doesn't flow through him in the last 2 minutes of the game. Your best player. You put it in the hands of Tobias Harris, Thibault, Shake Milton, Jay Rich. And you're just not going to get anywhere with that. So Celtics squeak out game 1. Game 2, Celtics backcourt outscores the Sixers backcourt 32-16, doubling the backcourt performance with points. Tatum goes 8 for 12 from deep. And like I talked about last week, you can really see the emergence of Jason Tatum. He's really getting close to that superstar level and carrying his team. It's important to note after Game 2, Celtics have lost Gordon Hayward for 4 weeks due to some sort of ankle sprain. He's their best perimeter defender. This is going to be very important for them going forward. Game 3, it was a lot closer. I watched that the other day. Late game, Sixers again lead. Close game, late game, 94-92. They lead. Embiid goes, Embiid's performance wasn't good. He went 7 for 20 from the field, but he only went 5 of 15 from inside the arc. He had 30 points, but it's like it wasn't efficient. It didn't help the team. Tobias Harris went 0 of 5 from deep. And Philly just doesn't score in the last 2 minutes or late game situations. They didn't score in the last 2 minutes of this game. They haven't done it really all series. The Celtics went on a 10-0 run after the 94-92 Philly lead, and Boston closes out. You can just tell by the body language of the Sixers in this last game, they just don't want to be there. They know they have a little to no shot to win. Al Horford and Tobias Harris's contracts look absolutely atrocious now. Tobias Harris signing that, I think it was a 4-year, $180 million deal, just not producing. The amount of money the Sixers paid Al Horford to really not do a whole lot for their team in playoff situations is just astounding to me. All right, here we go. Miami leads 3-0 over the Indiana Pacers. Game 1, Victor Oladipo only gives you 4 points. Heat have to slide Goran Dragic into the starting lineup due to Kendrick Nunn. I think he's got an injury or something's going on there. Jimmy Butler goes for 28 points. And you could just see how tough it kind of started out for the Pacers offensively. Oladipo only having 4 points. Miles Turner didn't have a good game offensively. And the Heat really kind of squeak out a 10-point win late. Game 2, Duncan Robinson goes bonkers. He goes 7 for 8 from deep, leads the team in points with 24. And no pun intended, but this is really a trend here in these 3 games. Pacers struggling to keep pace offensively. They just have not shown the firepower, at least early in games, to just keep up, stick with it, and defend. And Game 2 defensively against the 3-point line, they were atrocious. I mean, the Heat shot 51% from 3. That really seemed to be the difference because they made 6 more threes than the Pacers, so outscored them 18. They only lost by 8 or 9. Really showed to be the difference. They struggled to fight and claw back early fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough. So they're down 0-2 at that point. Game 3, Pacers, they're down 18 at half. Another one of those Charles Barkley predictions gone wrong. That's a funny bit if you haven't been paying attention. The Pacers go on a 34-20 run in third quarter. You cut it to 4 heading into the fourth quarter. Heat kind of get a little bit back on a run, and then the Pacers come back to where they're down 2 with about 4 minutes to go. It's 111-109. And after that, the Heat go on a 13-6 run to close it out. Malcolm Brogdon goes nuts for about 34. Had a really nice performance trying to keep his team in the game and just trying to will his team to a win. Just wasn't enough. I think, obviously, I predicted Miami in 6. I'm going to be wrong about that one for sure. I could see the Indiana Pacers really fighting hard, maybe squeaking out a win in Game 4. And I could definitely see the Miami Heat taking it in 5. But yeah, I was definitely wrong about this one as well. And I'm probably going to be wrong about the Celtics one. Celtics will probably sweep Sixers out of there. I thought the Sixers could get one game where Joel Embiid goes for almost 45 and just trying to will his team to a win on that one. So that's the East. I can do a quick preview of potential matchups. Bucks will see the Heat. I think that would be a very fascinating game. You saw in the seeding games, the Bucks and the Heat played each other. Heat had a huge lead and kind of let that slip away in the second half. I think it will be a really, really fun matchup. You'll get a bunch of role player Miami Heat guys, veterans and young guys. And the Bucks, like I've talked about last week, they have cracks in the foundation. When nobody's helping Giannis and they're really focusing on Giannis. The Bucks have struggled at times offensively. So I think that'll be a really, really fun matchup. Raptors are going to play the Celtics with Gordon Hayward out. I think the Raptors were going to win regardless. I really do view the Raptors as the favorite in the East to get back to the finals. I think they will. But I think the Raptors could put a hurting on the Celtics here. They could probably win in 6. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will play well enough to win a game or two. But I view the Raptors as just more mature, more experience, and the confidence going in, saying, "Hey, we are the defending champions. We have." And they have the depth. Their defense, the two guards in Van Fleet and Lowry playing really, really high-level basketball. I think they can get it easily. Well, not easily, but they'll be able to take care of the Celtics with some ease. So and I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive as we get closer to that. And we're getting pretty close considering that the East has several 3-0 leads with Raptors leading Nets, Celtics leading Sixers, and Heat leading Pacers. So that's my outlook on the East right now. I think I've done a pretty good job of staying. I mean, it's pretty easy to stay relatively correct in picking series. And I've picked all the winners right, potentially, if the Magic keeps slipping up. So it's very interesting. I think the West is a little more interesting than in the East, considering there is several 3-4 series or 3-0 leads, and Bucks Magic really isn't going to be that interesting down the stretch. So that is my view of after 3 games of each series in the Eastern Conference, and moving on into the Western Conference will be next.